Hello, welcome everybody to our today's webinar on taking a data-driven approach to infrastructure planning. We are here at Miovision. As you can see, we are all working out of our home office due to the times we are in. First of all, I wanted to check if you're all able to see the screen. If you do not see the screen, please raise your hand in the GoToWebinar panel. All right, great. I can see we don't have any visual problems. Where are we going? Here. All right, now I'm checking if everybody can hear me. If you cannot hear me, I just posted a quick chat question in there. If you cannot, please raise a hand or check your audio settings, please. All right, brilliant. Okay, we're going to give it a couple more minutes just for her to have some additional people log on to the webinar. I'm going to mute myself. In the meantime, we're going to start at 11:05. And yes, hopefully we can have a couple more people joining us as well, actually, or provide them the chance to join us. Thank you so much, and speak to you in 4 minutes. All right, just a couple more and then we start. All right, great. Welcome to our webinar. As mentioned before, I very much appreciated that you turned up today, this morning, to join us. And before we start, I always like to talk about our housekeeping items during the webinar. All our participants will be muted or are muted, as you might have noticed. That's just to avoid the background noise which might occur in these home office times. So we don't have our wives screaming at us that we did not unload the dishwasher, or that kids coming running down the staircase to ask to play, things like this. So that's why we are on all on mute besides the presenters. You also have a go-to webinar control panel, which helps you to interact with us via the chat option. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to ask the questions, no problem. And we will get to them at the Q&A section at the end of the webinar. So these questions will not be lost. And if we don't have the ability or the time to answer them at the Q&A section, we will definitely answer them post webinar via direct email or even a phone call. So to keep us all engaged, I put a couple of poll questions in the webinar as well, not only to learn from each other, but to know who's on the webinar and get a better understanding of who our participants are. And yes, that's it so far for our housekeeping items. So let's jump into our introduction. Maybe first me really quick, since I'm already talking. I'm Roman from Miovision. I'm the Global TE Marketing Manager. I'm responsible for all market communication when it comes to the TE Global Business Line. That's the product line we're going to mention a little bit in our webinar today. And I'm also often seen on a couple of trade shows and events as far as they happen. But let me hand over the mic to Kevin to introduce
I'm
himself.
Kevin. Hi, glad to have you around. I'm Kevin Gondo. I'm a account executive for the UK, France, and for what is our concern today, Africa, the whole continent, dealing from the north to the south without any exclusion. Really happy to have you around. We will be having this session to make sure that you've got an understanding of what we do, how we do, and make sure that we can keep on talking after the webinar, but in a one-to-one session, if you are interested, having a chat with me. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Awesome. So what are we going to discuss today? Well, we talk a little bit about Miovision, obviously, to give you a brief overview of who we are and what we do. And then we talk about, on a high level note, because time obviously is of constraint, the importance of transport, and a little bit also about collecting data versus actually trusting the data you collected. And at the end, we are showcasing you what Miovision has to offer in the section keeping up with the technologies of today. And as said, towards the end of the webinar, we have the opportunity to then a Q&A session. Okay, but first I talk about Miovision, I want to learn who's on the call today. So I'm going to have a poll question to be pulled up for you guys. So if you are in full screen mode on your desktop, I ask you to exit that, because otherwise you will not be able to answer the poll question. All right, let me launch the poll. And I very much like to know what role best describes you. Are you working in the data collection or traffic operations capacity within a municipality? Are you working for a traffic engineering firm, data collector, or in some other capacity? Okay, there we go. I give it about a minute and you can just make your selection. Okay, just another 15 seconds and I'm going to close the poll. Okay, I'm going to close the poll and let's see what the results are. Okay, brilliant. I can see we have almost half of the people are from engineering firms, which is great. We also have a few data collectors or from cities and traffic operations part. And we have a larger portion of others where we obviously like to learn where you're from and why did you feel interesting to be part of the webinar today as well. Okay, let me hide the results and we're going to move on to the next slide. Well, yes, Miovision. Who are we as a company? Well, Miovision was founded in 2005 in a little town called Kitchener, which is close to Waterloo in Canada. And our founders were actually within the traffic business. They were the ones who were sitting in the cold or in the rain or in the sun at the intersection and were manually counting cars. So they thought there must be a better way. And so they started to introduce new technologies and solutions to help ease the pain of manual counts, which we are going to talk a little bit later on about. And since then, we continuously innovated and approached a level where we had the opportunity now to count over 7 billion cars throughout the world, over 770 million cycles and pedestrians, and we show now up for a presence within more than 66 countries across the world. Throughout our continued approach and innovation, we gained a lot of trust of our clients, which obviously reflects in these numbers. But to show you how far we came, I wanted to give you a couple of our current customer references. You see, we've been working with large data collectors within France, cities like the city of Frankfurt or Paris itself, with even entire country organizations like we have on the top right, Luxembourg, county councils and larger regions across the UK and so forth. But this is only a small selection, and we have more customers across the globe: North America, Canada, Mexico, also a couple within Africa as well. But so much for that. I don't want you to get any more or deeper into Miovision, and I think it's a great opportunity. If you like to learn more about, feel free to log on to our website. But let's jump into another poll question. I really want to learn today, since we are talking about also a couple of different traffic data collection methods. What are you currently using to actually count vehicles, or what do you see as a person on the streets, how vehicles are currently counted? Okay, again, gonna launch the poll. Here you go, and please make your selection. I give it another 30 seconds for the last votes to come in. All right. Yeah, some people are still making a selection. That's awesome. And let me close the poll to share the results. Oh, great. I see there's a high percentage rate on manual counts and videos. There's a smaller portion on road tubes and radar. Okay, that's great. That gives us some food of thought for the webinar later on, and hopefully there's a couple of questions we can answer as well. All right, let's jump right into our next slide as well. So investments in transportation, public buildings, water treatment systems, and other forms of vital infrastructure have always been a key to creating good jobs and promoting full economic recovery as well as growth. In a 2005 study in South Africa, for example, done by the statistician Peter Perkins and his colleagues, it was found that the public sector investment in economic infrastructure had a very positive effect on GDP growth. This growth had obviously a positive effect on railway lines, rail coaching, stock, rail passengers, cargo handled at ports, and passengers in public transport, and even on fixed phone lines. When they looked over the long term between the 1960s and 2009, public sector investment in economic infrastructure averaged about 4% in South Africa's GDP. Just to give you an example within the continent. Perkins, for example, found that the relationship between economic infrastructure and economic growth appears to run in both directions. Economic growth provides both the need for and the resources to fund various types of infrastructure. Well, provided that the infrastructure projects take place in response to appropriate cost-benefit analysis, they are more likely to promote GDP growth. That hinder it, and the failure to provide appropriate infrastructure services may be impacted. Well, in another study where Antonio Estache and Grégoire Gassou, both expert in infrastructure investment in Africa, state in their little notes on the impact of infrastructure on growth in developing countries, that there is indeed an abundance of and more technical evidence that better quantity and quality of infrastructure can directly raise the productivity of human and physical capital and hence growth. For example, transport access can improve education and markets for farmers, outputs, and others by cutting costs, facilitating private investment, improving jobs, as mentioned, and income levels for many. And look at the numbers, in particular in Africa, show that 90% of transportation in Africa is done via roads, with an estimated 2% of the world's vehicle operating in Africa. And this is according to the World Bank Group. That means to increase the socioeconomic development, there is a need to focus on good transport in Africa. So, this is particularly true for the commerce sector, which requires roads, railroads, airports, and ports, so that manufacturers can obtain raw materials and parts and deliver finished products to consumers across the continent. As you notice, transportation is an integral part in growing economies. To be able to address this and the need for improvements, many cities and municipalities around Africa have thought of and are implementing forward-thinking transportation plans. Well, the execution, as much as the planning of these plans, involve traffic count projects. Projects which are often part of things like pavement designs. If you are a large manufacturer or maintenance highway road to actually get into designing pavements for highways, you need to know what type of vehicles are going across that road to really design for the structural integrity to be able to maintain the road for the future. Count projects or traffic count data can be part of active transportation plans. How do you improve the surrounding areas to have people walk and cycle more? Geometry design, road performances, general traffic studies are important, but also for safety. Knowing what the relationship is between cars and pedestrian is very important for safety analytics, but also within economies and finance. Often traffic data is being used to back up funding bids within your community or even towards the government for infrastructure plans. So, but how do you actually currently collect data? I've seen a lot of people still do manual accounts. And here I wanted to show you a little bit of a direct comparison between the traditional modes or methods of collecting data today. As you could see, or as I could see from the selection you made, you're all very familiar with the individual parts: manual counts, row tubes, radar, induction loops, induction plates, just to name a few as well. And as we can see from this table, when we are looking deeper into the individual methods, we see some of them have shortcomings. Like when we look at manual counts, the intersection is quite prone for using manual counts as well, but they have their difficulties when it comes to roundabouts as well. And travel time often gets not really done very well. On top of it, one of the biggest problems you see across the board is the verification of the data you actually collected. How do you know if the data which was actually counted is the data you or the true data showing on the road as well? Um, in order to highlight the importance of using the right tools, I would like to spend some time reviewing a study we completed in the city of New York. Well, the premise of this was to conduct a study of pneumatic road tubes in a busy urban environment and later compare them to the true traffic flow. In order to compare the results to ground truth, we had to record video. The tubes were deployed at multiple locations as seen on the map on the screen during a 70-hour period. Well, we worked alongside a data collection firm, Traffic Data Bank, who assisted with the deployment counts. As you can see, the individual pins are highlighting the locations of the road tubes. Well, I have to tell you, we did see a difference in results between the actual traffic volumes and the tube counted vehicle volume. But just noticing that there is a difference in the accuracy of the data collected is one thing. We wanted to take this a step further and measure the actual impact of what using those different results actually had in the traffic modeling scenario. Well, but let's take a look at the differences first. Across multiple locations, mostly due to the high congestion, high volume, low speeds, as well as the presence of freight vehicles, road tubes regularly overcounted traffic. The red line or orange line, depending on what your color perception is, highlights the ground truth data, the actual data. The blue line represents the vehicles counted by the road tubes. The blue circles show instances where the results provided by the different data collection methods started to differentiate. And it's in this region where, even though there are moments where tubes undercount due to blockage on the tube, bottom right, the tube still overcounted by an average of 13% overall. These are some more examples at different locations in the same study, where you see the discrepancy between the two data sets. These were also used in the calculations to determine the average of 13% overcounting by tubes. Here, these are great examples, in particular on the bottom left and bottom right. As you can see, the blue line very much differentiates between or differs from the actual count in the red or orange line. Here's another great example you should be considering in highly congested areas. The equipment is propensity towards failure and susceptibility to blockages. And in particular, when we have an example like here taking place with a large truck parked on the tubes. Obviously, data will be skewed during this time as a result. And without a video source getting a bird's eye view of the roadway, it will be very hard pressed to have the ability to verify that A, blockage occurred, B, have the ability to go back and recount that same study. You can see here at the 6th Avenue location, tube equipment failures due to the breakage and blockages result in tubes even reporting 35% fewer vehicles on average compared with video. Here again, You can see the impact to the data that these kinds of incidents can cause, evident by the big blue dips in the results. You can see here, right here, and on the bottom right. So in summary, there was a 30% overcount due to the impacts of a saturated roadway with too many vehicles flowing for the equipment to handle it, as well as an average of 35% undercount due to the equipment failing or blockages with vehicles parked on the tubes for a period of time. Well, so we know that these scenarios you can experience a range between 13 to 35% discrepancy. But that begs the question, is a 13 to 35% loss in accuracy really a big deal? Well, can you still have statistically relevant and accurate data considering that you have this kind of variation? Well, let's find the answer. And in order to find the answer, we wanted to apply these results to a standard application that the traffic engineer, like you guys, or the majority of you, would encounter in their day-to-day work. So we modeled a typical four-way intersection in a peak hour scenario and just assumed a 15% overcounting on all volumes at the intersection. We stayed on the modest end of the spectrum obviously, because if we are taking 35% of discrepancy, this is obviously no longer statistically viable. But what happens when you are even just 15% off, as mentioned? Well, it results in a 50% increase in average delay estimated, meaning you go from 27.8 seconds to 41.8 seconds. This subsequently translates into a rating of level of service D versus a level of service C at the intersection. Well, to put it simple, now people have to wait longer at the intersection before making their turn, causing road rage and even more congestion. But let me go back to the point where what we were making earlier about your recommendations that you make to your clients and the municipalities you serve using this data. You would be at risk of making recommendations back that the intersection experiencing negative impacts that are much more severe than reality. Let me expand on that using the following chart. Well, the bottom axis refers to the volume overestimation error. We conducted a sensitivity study analysis on how overestimation of the volumes impacted the intersection's average delay estimation using the delay formula described by, in the US, used highway capacity manual. Some of you might be familiar with that. The analysis was conducted in 3 different levels of saturation: under, over, and near saturated. This graph summarizes the findings. For all 3 levels of saturation, there's a strong relationship between volume error and delay error. As the level of saturation increases, the effect of error is much more significant, as you can see most predominantly in the oversaturated blue line. Don't get me wrong, there may be some situations in which the low-cost benefit of using road tubes outweighs the good results. For instance, in a very undersaturated environment with low counts or vehicle volumes, you might be okay with 10% out on your delay estimation. In this type of situation, agency may be willing to live with the results for the low cost of tubes. However, as shown in the chart, at the low end of the scale, at about 15% loss of accuracy, we are averaging about a 40% error in the delay estimation. And it only gets worse. As you get up to 35% loss, you see a staggering 85% error in your delay estimation, meaning drivers are waiting even longer at your intersection than that is actually necessary. Needless to say, this is incredibly significant and something to consider when choosing your next method of data collection. on a project in a similar environment. So, what is a more accurate solution? I want to now hand over the microphone to Kevin, who gives us an overview of the Miovision solution itself.
Thank you, Roman. Nice one. Okay, so I will try to make it short so that we've got some minute to go on and have time to answer to a few questions. So Miovision solution, we call the whole package the data link, all-in-one solution. It's made of first the hardware part, right, which is a mobile camera. I'm going to explain a bit what it looks like and how it works. And the second part is the platform where you can manage your data. I will also explain this one. And between those two, you've got to process some video. Okay. So first of all, Miovision Scout camera. The Scout camera Miovision is a mobile one. It's made to make sure that you can really be mobile and use it at different points, right? Instead of having a permanent solution somewhere, you can, let's say, survey different intersection, different roundabout all around the place. Okay, it's a real robust solution. Really strong one. We've got customers got Scout for the past 10, 12 years, and the same Scout is still working. So it's made of a pole mount, a small iBird camera, the Scout box self, right? And this one, right, allow you to collect the data. So it's going to record the data onto an SD card, a 16 or a 32 gigabyte SD card. And this Scout, right, is connected to the platform on your page onto the platform, so that when you deploy the Scout is going to send some heartbeat to the platform to inform you about what's going on. So you can have information about the battery level, you can have information about the SD card capacity, you still can have information about what the camera is viewing by the time you receive the heartbeat, right? So that if you've got a lot of cameras, we've got customer who's got hundreds of cameras. Those guys, they don't need to send someone down the street, go check every single hours the Scout and see if everything is going well. So if they've got a big project where they've got 50 or 100 cameras down the street, they can just follow on the platform and make sure that they send an engineer or a technician to go and have a look on the one which is not working well, which is really good to know. The Scout also allows you to do travel time, right? If you've got two Scout units, right, they are going to collect MAC addresses from mobile phones through Wi-Fi, and based on this, you also can do the journey survey easily. Okay. This is for the Scout. This is a short presentation of Scout. We've got video where you can see how to deploy it. The Scout deployment is a one-man job. You don't need 2, 3, 4, 5 people to deploy this. So just one guy deploying between 10 minutes when it's used, 2 to 15 minutes for someone who is quite new at using the Scout. This is the first thing. The second thing is that the Scout also puts your agent in safety when they are working, right? Because they don't need to be down street. They don't need to stop the traffic. There is no need for that. They just deploy it near a public post, tidy it up, and the ratchet trap to tidy it up are provided. The padlocks to secure it are also provided. So yeah, to read what we've got here, we can say fast deployment in the field, weather resistant, GPS LTE connectivity, Wi-Fi MAC address capture, 3 days of continuous recording, 7 days with an additional power pack. The power pack looks exactly the same as the Scout, but it's made only of batteries. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me, right, so that we can get deeper inside this. For your information, the pole mount is, when it's not deployed, it's just 1 meter 20, 1 meter 30, and when it's fully deployed, it's 6 meters to make sure that you've got a a high and profound view, right? With one scout, you can survey a small intersection or a small roundabout for about 52 meters of diameter. So this helps you, instead of having 4 people standing on different branches, 4 people around counting. With just one camera, you can have this full view, and what the scout can view, our AI-based software can count and survey properly with a 95% accuracy. Okay, so Roman, I think that we stop for the scout here and move on to the platform. The platform, I think for some market and some customers is a key. You won't need anymore to try to have your own data center to store your information. You can store your data there if you want. If you don't want, when you're asking for processing, you can ask Miovision to delete the video after an amount of days, 90 days, or you can keep it there forever. You've got your data there. Let's say now we've got a lot of customers asking, for example, for historical data. Maybe they didn't store their data very well, and now they are looking for some stuff. If you work with Miovision, all those data will be available forever if you need them so. And in this case, in this kind of situation, easy peasy. You go onto the website, you withdraw your data, you've got them handy, and you can work on this historical data easy peasy. Second, the platform also helps you to, for example, build up your project. You like to survey somewhere, you can go check, find, build it up. It's an intersection. What you would like to do, would you like to ask to some engineering companies or data collectors in your area to provide you with some code? You can start onto the platform and send it to them and put all your guys in copy to make sure that no one is going to ask for the same code to another company or have a double build staff, because you've got people who are companies where people are not really in a structured way, and people can pay 2 bills for the same work. This happens even if here in Europe. I've got a customer who's been telling me that in France. So there is it's a really handy tool. You also can follow your scout when it's deployed from the platform, because when the scout is located somewhere, right, it's located there, it's sending you heartbeat, you can find it onto the map, the Google map you've got onto the platform. You've got a lot of things you can do on this platform. When you've got your survey, when you have to process, you've got the video from the scout, you take the SD card, you upload it, you ask Miovision to process intersection or whatever it is. The result will be exactly like what you've got in the picture here. It's going to show you the location where it was, right? You're going to have these peak hours and the different classification you've been requesting. On the same, you're going to have the video, right, below, a bit below. You're going to have the video, right, and you're going to have this graphic, which is really handy. And from this platform, you still can download the video again. If you've lost it, you still can download it. Why? For people who's got engineering company, for example, can use the video again to analyze people behavior, to analyze cars behavior after a project, during a project. You can do that. You still can you also can download the report, the full report with the numbers and things like that under CSV, PDF, Excel. Easy, very quickly you can do that. And it's an interactive platform, right? When you click, for example, onto this graph there, right, this is going to adapt to the video and also to the graphic you've got below here to help you out, okay? What else can I say? You don't have enough budget to have your own data center. You need a place where you store all this data. It's really handy, right? You can use this and forever. As a Miovision customer, you've got your own scout, you work with that, and you've got this platform which is offered, okay? If you are Miovision customers, this storage for you is for free, okay? You don't need anything else. You process as you go. You want to process, I don't know, for X amount of video, you process, you pay your bill, okay? But these kind of details we can get in. You just have to reach out to me, ask me your question. ask me to go for a webinar for a specific thing, and we will go for it. Why is this solution really interesting? Why our offer can be really flexible, depending on the fact that you work for a county council, you work for a city, you work as a data collector or as an engineering firm, right? We've got a specific targeted solution to you to adapt to your specific position, to your specific situation. What we survey, we survey intersection count, roundabout count, volume count, pedal bike pathway, and junction count. We've got a lot of study types. Let's say the customs class, we've got a lot of different stuff. I know, for example, that in some countries we will need, for example, tricycle count. We've got it. If you've got a specific case locally, you know you do it all the time, reach out. It's an AI-based software. Artificial intelligence is something you can educate. You can help them learn what you would like to survey, and at some point it will become perfect. 95% accuracy, this is the basic thing we used to do. We can reach the 99% accuracy depending on how simple the survey is. So really, just reach out. Different classification: pedestrian, motorcyclists, light good vehicles, articulated truck, bicycle, cars, rigid truck, buses. We do all of this. In Europe, we've already started doing e-scooters, because it's become micromobility in Europe is becoming a reality, and we are also starting this year. But as I said, we've got a lot of customs class, right? Buses, specific buses, the UK cabs, thing like that. We are doing all this. Please don't hesitate. Reach out. Let's have a talk, and you will see what is inside there for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kevin, for providing this great overview of our solutions. And what I've done is, if you still remember the slide of the traditional methods we looked at the very beginning, I now added our Scout solution to this. And as you can see, Scout, or the Miovision Scout hardware in combination with its software capabilities, checks off all the boxes. You know, when it comes to intersection counts, roundabouts, volume, travel time. So we are all fulfilling these requirements. You'll be able to run these studies and do them as well. And one of the greatest things, obviously, and that's what I mentioned when we were comparing tubes with the reality of traffic flows, we saw that you have now the opportunity to actually verify the data. So if you think there's something off, you just go back to the video and take a look at it. And for the ones on us who already use a video as a feature or a way of counting traffic, as I could see from the poll, then you know how beneficial this is, because having the video available as well provides you with all sorts of opportunities to do qualitative analysis on top of it. If you want to know how pedestrians are moving in particular directions, or if you want to see a look at near hit misses, things like that. And as mentioned, you know, you have opportunities, features, vehicle classifications, pet and bike counts, and remote access. So this all comes in very handy. But all this set, it all sounds nice and good unless you have it in reality. And I want to show you a couple of projects where our Scout was used. So, for example, the problem was Jackson County in the US had a problem during major sports events. The people were crossing a high traffic road to get to the parking lot. So there was this 6-lane nearly highway between one of the parking lots and the actual stadium. So now they wanted to find alternatives to their proposed plans, which would incur high infrastructure building costs. Because the original plan from the stadium was to just build a new bridge, and bridge stones come cheap no matter the size. The bigger, the more investment; the smaller, a little bit less investment, but still it's a huge expense. So the objective was to quantify the actual problem by doing quantitative analysis of pedestrians' behavior as well as qualitative analysis. And this was done by the use of 9 Miovision cameras. What we finally returned, or the results which could be found, was that how many people, or that we could gain insights on how many people cross the roadway and measure their behavior. On the quantitative measure side, we could see the acceptable queue length before the decision was made to cross the high trafficked road instead of waiting to use the bridge. And the engineering firm could establish a timeline for a problem to occur. It also helped them to understand how many people actually jaywalked and understood the travel time. On top of it, how long it took from the stadium to the actual parking lot at different times during during the game and post the game as well. So eventually the result was that the engineering firm found out that the problem actually wasn't that bad and that you could, with a couple of security measures, circumvent the entire problem. So with these insights gained, they were able to save the stadium a huge infrastructure expense. Maybe as another example, when it comes to congestion, I want to show you the example we had in Germany. So the traffic engineering firm was tasked to find out why congestion was actually occurring at peak hours within a town. So they deployed not only cameras on the outside skirts of the town itself to understand the travel time, particular during peak hours, but also to figure out where people were circumventing the congestion of the road during those peak hours, because there was this hypothesis of the city that as soon as traffic congestion occurred, these cars were actually going alternative routes. So with the help of Miovision, or using the Scout, they had the ability to count vehicles and bicycles in 24 locations. Then with another 13 locations to monitor parking behavior, 10 locations to count pedestrian crossings. So that meant all the entire project, all these different locations, which we are talking about, 47 different locations, were all done and collected within a single week. Obviously, your Scout fleet needs to be a little bit bigger, but with the help of remote access and field sheets, this is a manageable job. Imagine the same thing with manual people or counting manual. And what were the results? One, it disapproved the assumed traffic patterns. So after the analysis of the traffic flows, it became apparent that the majority of the cars or vehicles did not even take alternative routes. With the help of the travel time report, it was actually identified the root cause of the entire problem, which was a traffic light inside the city center, backing up, running too slow to clear the individual lanes. And you had the ability to measure the impact of the congestion. So how much were the surrounding businesses actually affected by the congestion? Were pedestrians afraid to cross the street at the outside of traffic lights, and so forth? So it provided the traffic engineer with a great ability to quickly gain insights to then use those to build or establish the recommendations needed to improve the situations or build plans. So, as mentioned, you need reliable data. But before we break for a Q&A, I wanted to leave you with some final thoughts. Accurate data is the foundation of any good engineering project. You want to help you set your project up for success by providing the foundation or by seeing an input in your foundation. Miovision takes great effort to ensure that the data, obviously you receive, is accurate as it could be. And we hope that through a combination of the tips and tricks you've learned today and the knowledge of how we conduct our processes, or actually knowing, you have the necessary work to start the conversation to improve your entire traffic data collection process. So with that, I like to open up the room for Q&A, and feel free to shoot away with any questions you might have. All right. Just all right. If I understand your platform for counting is cloud-based, do you have option for customer to get its own server at its data center? On that matter, I have to say, no, we don't have a standalone version, but I also need to encourage you. Cloud-based solutions are obviously a great way of continuously um, ensuring that you have the latest updates, the quality is always kept as promised, because running it on local servers requires more work on your side as well to maintain the software and all the different moving parts within it. I see there's a question on cost of the Scout. For that, I would say it's great. You would be to contact Kevin. He will get in touch with you after the webinar to discuss those because our pricing is very much project-based and we work with our clients to make the best possible. I see a question on, can we upgrade the Miovision equipment for remote data collection? Well, remote data collection, if you are thinking of over-the-air transmission of the actual video, then this would not be possible at this point of time. You have the ability to remotely connect to your device via the data link platform and schedule any recordings for that matter. But the actual recorded video, you need to go to the unit, collect the SD card and upload it. I give you a question, Kevin. Vandalism and strong wind protection.
Okay. In terms of vandalism, what we know, what we are used to, right, is if the Scout is deployed in a city center in a normal place, no problem. No one can come just grab it and go because the ratchet strap to tie it up onto a public post is provided. You've got padlock also provided, and the screw from the pole mount are specific, and so it's not every single screwdriver that someone can come and just come and change it or turn it somewhere. But this is for normal places. When you are in rough places, when you are in an environment when you know that you are 100% sure that something is going to happen, then you have to take measure. I've been in the UK, right? They've got places, for example, area where they know that when they deploy a Scout, they definitely need to do something. They've been building, for example, some specific cages, right, to protect the Scout self, or they put the Scout upper. They've got a specific staff to put the pole mount on top at 2, 3, 4, 5 meter high, somewhere there, and then they tied it up from there. But this is something you can't avoid. Your own car, you drive it every day. If you get into a rough place, someone can come and just burn it, right? So it really depends. But saying that someone can come and just grab it to go, no. But if you are in a place where someone definitely want to destroy it, there is nothing we can do about it. I hope this is, yeah, I know this is not necessarily the kind of answer you expect, but what you have to know is safely tie it up, padlock, all good. If it's a normal place, if it's rough place, anything you put there, you've got a chance to see them damaged or stolen.
Yeah. What I like to add to this is feel free to log on to our myovision.com blog as well. There is a blog post on Miovision Scout who survived a tornado in North America. So as you could see, it withstands the winds, and it's being used from the colds of Alaska all the way to the heats of the Sahara. So it's a very durable product. I see, can the system classify the data due to FHWA? yes, since we are a North American company, there is a possibility to do so. What we've seen in the past is often that customers actually don't use that granularity. They usually group them and either into heavy and light categories, or just use specific ones. I have a question on can we acquire Scout just like road tubes for private use? Obviously you can. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be for commercial use. If you say you want to privately being used for your own traffic counts, that is certainly possible. We do not limit it to this. So this is not a pure B2B product in that sense. We have somebody asking on how does the device operate under heavy rain? Is it protected against lightning and thunder? Well, I can say to this, as I say, it's been used everywhere across the world. We haven't had any problems using it in heavy rain and need to be additionally protected for lightning and thunder. Obviously, what we have to say, the heavier the rain is, the more difficult it will be to count traffic due to the limited visibility. As well, since this is a camera and it's the same thing for anybody. If you are in heavy rain and you barely be able to see what's going on, then that's the same is true for cameras as well.
But to add something on top of this, you also have to know that as Roman said, we work all around the world, but by night, day, windy time, and things like that. Whatever the Scout is going to collect, our AI-based software is going to count it. But if, yeah, in fact, it's a heavy rain, as I can imagine, right? And nothing can be properly seen, we still can count, but the accuracy is going to drop a bit, right?
Yep. I have a question. What's the advantage apart from vision over road tubes? Well, at the very beginning of our webinar, we discussed the difference between road tubes and reality, and I think I'm more than happy to share that study we've done in New York with our participants. If you want this, just send us an email. The email is on the screen, or you can just log on to our website and download it as well. And I think one of the greatest advantages is over road tubes, the intersection counts as well. I think it's a standout a feature that with road tubes, you will find it very difficult to count turning movements. When it comes to volume counts, obviously the same or almost the same as well. As mentioned before, depending on the situation. If you have a highly congested area, road tubes might be not the right choice at this point of time, but it's always based up on the individual project, like mentioned earlier. I have another question. What is the range of the Scout? I hand this over to you, Kevin, because I think what our participant means by range is how large can the intersection be? What are like a little bit of the deployment guidelines?
Okay, so the Scout can view and we can count for any intersection roundabout for about 52 meters of diameter. So every single thing in between 52 meters, right, from the Scout can view it properly, and our AI-based software can count. Still, one thing to add, if you've got these kind of big, really big intersection or this kind of big roundabout, you still can collect data, but you need to put multiple camera, 1, 2, 3, depending on the size. Our support team will be there to help, right? And then, depending on the size still, we can reconfigure all the video together and get back to you with the kind of graphic you've got below by rebuilding the entire roundabout intersection. So this is also possible. Now, if it's a kind of intersection which is extremely big, where there is no way to rebuild the stuff, right? In this case, you're going to have it divided into different intersection count. This is the way in which you work. But in general, normal size, even if it's really big, right, we still can rebuild it if you use multiple cameras.
Yes. I think we are nearly at the end, or an hour has passed now since the beginning of the webinar. I don't want to take much longer of your time. You have the opportunity to view the webinar in the aftermath. That is no problem. We will provide you with a link to watch the recording, and you can share that obviously with your peers and colleagues within the industry if you like to. If you have any additional questions, as mentioned, you can either contact Kevin or you can contact me. I would refer to Kevin mostly for the pricing, as well as setting up any demos or any future webinars to get a deep dive into our solution and what can be possible as well. Thank you very much for the questions who have not been answered. We will refer back to you via email to get all these questions answered as well, because there have been plenty coming in. And as said, as time permits, I thank you very much all. Kevin, if you want to say a few final words.
Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining us today, and for all your questions, everything you've been asking, don't hesitate. You've got our emails there. You just send me an email and I will get back to you. You want to go deeper inside it because you're really interested or you want to know more, you reach out to me. We can plan a one-to-one webinar or a webinar with your entire team so that you've got all the questions, everything you want. We answer, you've got them, and you see how you can proceed. Thank you very much for joining us today, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.